Hello, everyone. Thanks again for tuning into this Explainer series where we take deep dive into our service offerings, ways we can continue to support you and your clients. Today, I'm joined by my colleague, Michael Vittori. Again, Ryan Douglas with the Community Foundation of Greater Des Moines. So in our previous video, we talked about the Charitable Investment Partner Program at a high level, very 101, and thought we'd do a follow-up video to that to take a deeper dive. You know, I'm sure there's people that still have additional questions. How does it work? What about this? What about that? So for today's purposes, thought we'd continue that conversation. If you haven't watched the first video, we would encourage you maybe to start there and then come back to this one. So let's expand a little bit on our first conversation and look more at if an advisor is interested in hitting the go button, wanting to become a charitable investment partner, what are the steps involved? What do they need to know? What does the client need to know?
Yeah, so it's really pretty easy to get started. You know, just reach out, shoot us an email, give us a call. We'd be happy to walk you through it. And it starts with the CIP guidelines. So the Charitable Investment Partner guidelines, rather, are kind of what you can expect from the relationship, what we expect from the relationship. It just kind of sets the tone for the program, right? And after that, we get into an investment policy statement proposal. So just making sure everything aligns with our investment policy here in-house. And then after approval of that, you know, as long as you have a fund that is ready to set up, we can move forward from there and get working on the new fund agreement.
Yep. So I always explain it to advisors. There's two pieces of the puzzle that we can work together. One is getting the fund established, right, for the client and working through that. And the other piece is getting this new investment account established. So you described that investment policy statement, those guidelines. You know, we can turn this all around real quick. It's not a timely, huge time project. Yeah. What about minimums? So I know that's another question that gets tied to this. We hear it a lot. What minimums are involved with charitable investment partners?
Yeah, and while we don't have any account minimums here at the Community Foundation to open up a fund, the Charitable Investment Partner Program has a $50,000 minimum to open up a new investment account. So the number to remember there is $50,000.
Yeah. So a lot of national providers have minimums as well, usually higher from what we've seen, not always, but usually. Let's talk about custodians, you know, and that's another question I hear a lot when I'm sitting down with advisors. A lot of advisors use different platforms, different custodians. What restrictions are there?
No restrictions for custodian. You know, we know all advisors have their, you know, favorite flavor of custodian. We work with several here and more in the future, but yeah, no preference on our side really for that.
Yeah, good. So when you're meeting with advisors, what kind of frequently asked questions are you hearing?
So it kind of comes up with the IPS proposal document. Are there any investment allocation restrictions or asset class restrictions or requirements?
Yep. So again, you heard it in that first question. One of the requirements we ask of the advisors is that they propose how they plan to invest these assets. And we don't have any restrictions per se. I mean, that's one of the beauties of this program is it's fully customized to what the client's needs are. The two things we keep in mind when we're reviewing them, number one, we do have a limitation on 10% for a single security. So Amazon or, you know, some specific holding, 10% would be that max threshold. And then the other one that we're keeping our eye on is more and more we're seeing alternatives come into the asset class, and that's great. Our big follow-up question, if it's not clear, is really around liquidity. So most funds that we help with are clients that are really trying to deploy those assets to support their favorite charities. And if it's a very illiquid or uncertain type product, that's where we're going to have a follow-up conversation. It's not a no. You know, we have ways to work with that. It's usually a follow-up conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah, and along that same line, how does cash flow work? So in the world of, you know, gifts in, grants out, how does that work with one of these charitable investment accounts?
Yeah, that's actually been one of the bigger concerns as I have more of a conversation with an advisor is, well, wait a second, does that mean my team has to send out these grant checks to the charities? And unfortunately, no, that's where we come into play as the administrator of these funds is our team's doing the due diligence on the charities, our team sending out those checks or those ACH to get the hands of charity with the money. So cash flow wise, how it works, when that grant request comes in, either directly to our team or through their trusted advisor, we're processing the grant after doing due diligence and getting the money out the door. And then our team works with the financial advisor and their team on kind of reimbursing us on the back end. So real seamless process.
And with the collaboration with the financial advisor, how is reporting done? How is access to the fund established?
Yeah. So we have an online portal called Manage My Fund, which is similar to most banking investment type experiences. So obviously your client will have access to that. That'll be their resource on tracking their fund, making requests, getting their quarterly fund statements. And we set up the advisor with the client's permission to have read-only access as well, so they can track the changes. It's also something we've seen advisors use as a tool and a resource for them going into client meetings. Wealth planners oftentimes have kind of the full picture, and they want to make sure that they're educated and informed going into client meetings on, well, what's happening with your charitable fund. So a lot of them see that as a great resource for them as well. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the mechanics, the details, a lot of those frequently asked questions. Again, we have that 101 video we've done before this, kind of the high level. So for advisors out there that are interested in learning about this program, these are two great resources for you. But again, Michael and myself are here to support you and your clients and answer any other questions we did not take on these videos. So thank you for watching, and feel free to reach out to us.
Thanks.
Take care.